Hi, my name is Isa. I'll be talking about some programming styles and technique, specifically functional and object-oriented programming, and also modularity. This is more on conceptual aspect rather than technical. This will answer the question why instead of how. To begin with, the main concern of every programmer is to make a program that works well. Basically, computer will always execute a working program. But the challenge is how to make a program readable to humans. What we mean here is how we organize our code so others could easily understand it. Before we proceed, let's take a look first what is a program. Here is a simple code that initiates an alert box saying, "Hello world, I am alert box." A computer program is a collection of instructions that performs a specific task when executed by a computer. In here, we are telling the computer to execute an alert box that will pop up on our browser. In artistic point of view, a program is like a painting or song composition for a programmer. Anyway, this is not our topic here. What we're going to discuss is how do we style a program. There are a lot of ways to do it. We can write the code in our previous example in a more sensible way like this. In here, we break down the code and created variables, the name and greeting. In this case, if you want to change something on your code, you don't have to touch the whole thing. Let me give you an example. For instance, I want to change the name on my code into my name and also the greetings into hi. I also add another variable here called greetingend. You will notice how flexible it is. We might not be able to see the difference here, but if you're going to work with a more complex code, we will see its relevance. There is also another way of writing this code in a more functional way. Instead of using variables, we created a function. This is called functional programming. This is where our discussion begins. In computer science, functional programming is a programming paradigm that treats computation as the evaluation of mathematical functions and avoids changing state and mutable data. We will discuss more about this later. Functional programming is a declarative programming style, which means programming is done with expressions instead of statements. In other words, it is a programming style wherein functions are kings. In functional code, the output value of a function depends only on the arguments that are input to the function, as shown in this illustration. So calling a function f twice with the same value for an argument x will produce the same result fx each time. Functional programming is getting a lot of attention nowadays. The main reason is it's easy to maintain and very safe to use. Because of its simplicity, you need not to worry about encountering bugs. There are some important things to understand about this paradigm. As what we have mentioned, we have to avoid mutable data in functional programming. Hence, we use an immutable object or unchangeable object whose state cannot be modified after it is created. We also need to eliminate side effect. A function expression is said to have a side effect if it modifies some state or has an observable interaction with calling functions or the outside world. So we have to use pure functions, which means our outputs depends only with the inputs. It makes it much easier to understand and predict the behavior of a program, which is one of the key motivations for the development of functional programming. Other thing is, we use higher order function. The best example here is the map, filter, and reduce tools. Map, reduce, and filter were introduced as powerful alternatives when translating elements, finding cumulative values, or building subsets based on condition. These methods help the developer manage less complexity, work without side effects, and often make code more readable. Map and reducing can make your code much cleaner and more easy to read and maintain, and put you on a path toward more elegant functional development. These are great tools to support functional programming. Remember, these are the main things in functional programming, so learning these basics is your key to mastery. Now let us talk about another type of programming paradigm, the object-oriented programming. Object-oriented programming is a programming paradigm based on the concept of objects, which may contain data in the form of fields, often known as attributes, and code in the form of procedures, often known as methods. The most common illustration of an object-oriented programming is a car. Think of a car. You can describe its brand, its name, its type, the model, and the color. This is called properties, the values associated with an object. Here, it is the physical description of the car. We can also define what a car can perform: start, drive, brake, stop, park. This is called the method, or the behavior of the object. It is a procedure associated with a message and an object. We can also enumerate the things that can happen to an object, also known as the event. Event occurs when the user or the browser manipulates a page. In the old days, you would write the code to define every single car, color, make, model, fuel, type, etc. You would need to rewrite all of these codes every time you needed a car in your program.
created using Powtoon.